My name is Mia, 22. This is the story of how I made my own parents think I'd disappeared. It started on an ordinary Tuesday night. I swiped my keycard, pushed open the door, and froze. Lights on, TV playing, and there, sitting on my couch like they paid the rent, were my parents. Surprise! My heart slammed. How did you even get in here? My mom held up the key. You gave this to us, remember? It's not breaking in. We're family. That sentence hit harder than any slammed door, because this wasn't the first time. The clean dishes I never washed, the folded laundry, the groceries that appeared. Every time I thought I was alone, they'd already been here. This time, something snapped. I smiled, sat down, let them talk, and while they did, I stared at that key, felt a plan clicking into place. If they believed family meant they could cross any boundary, what would happen if I simply vanished? If you've ever felt suffocated by someone who calls it love, this is for you. The night they hijacked my couch, I didn't scream. I didn't throw them out. I played the role they expected. You could have texted, I said. My mom laughed it off. If I texted, it wouldn't be a surprise. Besides, look at this place. You needed me. She gestured at my half-folded laundry, empty ramen cups, textbooks spread across the table. My dad chuckled. Your mom worries. You know how she gets. I knew exactly how she got. Since I was 10 and she installed a tracking app on my first phone for safety. Since 13 when she read my journal by accident and grounded me. Since 15 when she stood outside the bathroom door because I'd locked it for more than 5 minutes. And since 16, when my dad had his heart attack and never came home. That was the day her worry mutated into something else. An obsession with control disguised as care. I was hit with a memory. Standing in our old house, my dad's shoes still by the door. Her grabbing my shoulders so hard it hurt. I already lost him, she whispered, eyes wild. I am not losing you too. At 16, I believed her. At 22, I realized what that promise had cost me. You can't keep doing this, I said quietly. Doing what? Helping? Being your mom? Letting yourself in, going through my stuff. This is my apartment, Mom, not your second home. She stiffened. We pay for half your rent. We bought your furniture. We have a right to make sure you're safe. There it was, the contract I never signed but somehow owed. Money for control, support for access. A right? I repeated. You think you have a right to my front door, my bed, my life, just because you helped me? My dad shifted uncomfortably. Your mom's just worried. You don't call. You don't answer sometimes. You ask, I shot back. You respect my answer. You wait until I invite you. My mom's eyes glossed over. You stopped calling after you moved out. You used to tell me everything. Do you know what that feels like? That should have made me feel guilty. Instead, it made me furious. Maybe I'm slipping away because you've had your hands around my throat for years. The room went silent. I'm just trying to keep you safe, she whispered. After Dad died, you didn't just keep me safe. You turned me into your emotional support animal, Your project. Your proof that you hadn't failed at everything. Her lips parted like I'd slapped her. That's not fair, she said weakly. Is it fair to track every step I take? To go through my messages? To show up at my dorm at midnight because I didn't reply for 2 hours? My dad spoke. Mia, that's enough. No, it's not enough. It's 6 years too late. I watched my mom sink onto the couch, eyes darting around. For the first time, I saw it clearly. She wasn't just overprotective, she was terrified. Terrified people she loved would vanish without warning, like my dad did. And in her terror, she'd built a prison. One with nice curtains and homemade meals, but a prison all the same. Here's the question that burned in my brain that night. When does love stop being love and start becoming surveillance? I didn't know the answer yet. I just knew one thing. Talking wouldn't fix this. She didn't believe my words, so I decided to show her what it felt like when I was actually gone. A week later, I was at a coffee shop with my best friend, Olivia. She listened to me rant, eyes wide. She has a key to your actual apartment? Yep, she just lets herself in, cleans, rearranges, sometimes leaves casseroles like guilt bombs. That's not cute, that's creepy, Olivia said flatly. I laughed, strained. What am I supposed to do? Ask for the key back and start World War III? Olivia looked at me for a long moment. You don't ask. You make the key useless. I frowned. What do you mean? She leaned closer. Move somewhere they don't know about. The idea hit me like cold water. Just disappear? Not forever. Just long enough for them to understand what it feels like when you're actually gone. When they can't just walk in and check on you like you're some experiment they're monitoring. I sat back, heart pounding. It was insane. It was cruel. It was also perfect. Over the next 2 weeks, I planned. Found a new apartment, smaller, cheaper, across town. Signed the lease under my name only. No emergency contact, no cosigner. The landlord asked if I wanted to give my parents a spare key. No, I said. The word tasted like freedom. Moving day, I told no one. Olivia helped me pack. We moved like criminals, fast, efficient. Boxes down the stairs, into the car, across town, up another flight. By noon, my old apartment was almost empty. Just a mattress, a folding chair, a few decoy items to keep up appearances. My phone buzzed all morning. Good luck on your project. Haven't heard from you. Did your phone die? Mia, please respond. I didn't. Every time I considered it, I pictured her hand on my doorknob, twisting without knocking. By late afternoon, everything that mattered was in the new apartment. I stood in the middle of my new living room, sweaty, exhausted, and felt something I hadn't felt in years, the absence of an invisible gaze. How does it feel? Olivia asked. I looked around. Quiet, in a good way, and also terrifying. My phone buzzed. Not a text, a call. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Mia Collins? This is Officer Ramirez with the LAPD. Your parents came into the station. They're very worried. They reported you missing. My brain short-circuited. Missing? I'm not missing. I moved apartments today. I'm fine. Your parents said they went to your address. Your door was unlocked. The place looked abandoned. They couldn't reach you for several hours. I closed my eyes. Of course they'd gone. Of course they'd used the key one last time. I pictured them opening the door to find nothing. No bed, no clothes, no daughter. Just the ghost of the life they thought they controlled. I appreciate you checking, but I'm an adult. I chose to move, and I chose not to tell them because I needed space. I'm safe. Pause on the line. That's your right. Would you be willing to call them? They're pretty shaken up. I stared at the ceiling. This was it. The moment my revenge stopped being hypothetical and became a sobbing woman in a police station. I'll call them. After I hung up, I just sat there, phone heavy in my hand. They called the cops, I said. Found the place empty. Reported me missing. So the plan worked, Olivia said quietly. I laughed once, sharp. Yeah, it worked. How do you feel? Like I just pushed someone off a cliff and I'm waiting to see if they can swim. I dialed my mom's number, hands shaking. She picked up on the first ring. Mia? Her voice was high, ragged. Where are you? Are you okay? Oh my God, why didn't you? I'm fine. I'm safe. I moved apartments. Silence. Then a choked sound. You moved? Without telling us? We thought... You have no idea. We went to your place and it was empty. I told you I'd be busy. I turned on Do Not Disturb because I didn't want to be interrupted. We thought you'd been taken. Your father nearly had a heart attack. We called hospitals. We drove around campus. How could you do this to us? There it was. Not, I'm glad you're safe. Just, how could you do this to us? A part of me wanted to apologize, to soothe her, to fix the panic I'd caused. The other part spoke first. That feeling you had today? That drop in your stomach when you opened the door and I was gone? That's how I've felt every time you've appeared in my space without warning. Pause. Every time I saw your name light up my phone 10 times in a row. Every time I came home wondering if you'd been there, touching my things, reading my life. That's not the same. I was protecting you. You disappeared. I moved. I didn't vanish. I didn't die. I didn't get kidnapped. I did something every adult has the right to do. I chose where I live and who has access to it. Pause. You reported me missing because for once, you weren't in control. Strangled sound. Then my dad's voice came on. Mia, we were terrified. You have to see that. I do. I see it very clearly. I also see that your terror has been my prison. And today, for 12 hours, you sat inside that same prison. How did it feel? He didn't answer. In the background, my mom was crying, repeating my name. I heard the officer say gently, Ma'am, she's safe. She's an adult. You can't force her to share her address. The words hit my mom like a physical blow. You won't even tell us where you are. You're our daughter. I am your daughter, but I am not your property. I will tell you where I am when I believe you can handle knowing without abusing it. Right now, you've proven you can't. That was the moment the balance shifted. For the first time in my life, someone with authority had told her no and backed me up. So what now? She whispered. You just disappear from our lives? No. I'm asking you to meet me somewhere else. Neutral ground. Tomorrow we talk. We set new rules. If you can't accept them, then yeah, I'll disappear. But not from the world. Pause. Tomorrow, 3 p.m., the cafe by the station. If you want to see me, be there. I hung up before she could answer. My hand shook, but my voice hadn't. The next day, I walked into the cafe half expecting they wouldn't show, but they were there. My dad sat stiffly at a corner table, hands wrapped around a coffee he wasn't drinking. My mom sat beside him, eyes red-rimmed, fingers twisting a napkin into shreds. I sat down across from them. No hugs, no small talk. Just 3 people and a table between us that felt like a border. You look tired, my dad said. So do you. My mom let out a shaky laugh. We didn't sleep. I kept seeing your empty room. Pause. This is it. This is my punishment. It's not punishment, I said. It's a consequence. She flinched. Do you hate me that much? If I hated you, I would have changed my number and never called back. I don't hate you. I love you. That's the problem. She stared at me, eyes filling. Then why didn't you just tell me? Because every time I've tried to set a boundary, you turned it into a crisis. You trained me to believe that your feelings mattered more than my limits. Pause. Yesterday was the first time I chose my limits over your fear. My dad cleared his throat. What do you want from us? I took a breath. First, you don't get my new address. Not yet. You know I'm safe. You know I'm in the same city. That's enough for now. My mom recoiled. You won't even let us know where you live? You've already shown me what you do with that information. Until you can prove you won't use it as a pass to invade my space, you don't get it. How are we supposed to visit? You don't. Not uninvited. If I want to see you, I'll come to you. Or we'll meet somewhere public, like this. She stared at me like she didn't recognize her own daughter. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she'd only ever known the version of me that folded under her tears. Second, no more constant check-ins. You can text me once a day. I will respond when I can. If I don't answer for a few hours, that doesn't mean I'm dead. It means I'm living my life. My dad nodded slowly. That seems reasonable. My mom turned on him. Reasonable? She disappeared! She moved, he corrected quietly. And the officer was right. She had every right. He looked at me. I didn't realize how bad it had gotten. I let it happen. That's on me. That admission startled me. For years, he'd been the buffer, the one who said, "That's just how your mom is." Third, I need you to understand something, Mom. Your fear is yours. It was born the day Dad died. And I'm sorry you had to carry that alone. But you don't get to drop it on me every time your brain plays a worst-case scenario. Pause. I will not be your living alarm system anymore. She stared at me, tears spilling. Do you have any idea what it's like to hold your husband's hand 1 minute and plan his funeral the next? My throat burned. Yes, I was there too. I lost him too. But somehow only one of us got permission to fall apart. Pause. You turned me into your reason to keep breathing, and then you decided the only way to keep me was to never let me out of your sight. That's not love. That's fear, dressed up as love. For the first time, she didn't argue. She just cried. Small, broken sounds. So what do I do? Just stop caring? No. Care differently. Care enough to let me walk home without tracking the route. Care enough to believe me when I say I'm okay. We sat in silence for a long time. Eventually, my dad spoke. We'll try. I can't promise it'll be perfect, but I hear you. And if we mess up, you have my permission to hang up the phone, to walk out the door, to protect yourself. My mom wiped her face. I don't know how to be the kind of mother you're asking for. All I know is how to hold on. Then maybe we both have stuff to learn. You have to learn to loosen your grip. I have to learn to stop mistaking your fear for my responsibility. She looked at me for a long time, something new flickering in her eyes. Acceptance, or at least the first shaky step toward it. Okay, I'll look for a therapist. I'll try not to break into your life anymore. A weak smile tugged at my mouth. And I'll try not to stage any more fake disappearances. We shook on it. Awkward, a little absurd, but real. A contract actually spoken aloud. Months have passed since that day. My parents still don't have my address. Sometimes my mom slips, sends 3 texts in a row, calls twice in an hour. When she does, I don't rush to comfort her. I wait. I respond when I'm ready. Once she apologized on her own. Sorry, got carried away. Old habits, I'm working on it. That message meant more to me than any casserole ever did. Do I regret what I did? Sometimes, when I remember the sound of her voice at the police station, cracked and wild, part of me flinches. I didn't just draw a boundary, I detonated a wake-up call. But then I look around my apartment, my keys on my table, my mess exactly where I left it, my phone blessedly silent when I choose. And I know, without that explosion, nothing would have changed. My mom had to feel what it was like to not know where I was, to understand that her worst nightmare wasn't me being gone, it was me being gone on my own terms. Here's what the story taught me. Sometimes the people who love you most can also be the ones suffocating you. And they'll never see it, because in their mind, love justifies any invasion. This story taught me that grief can turn into control if you're not careful. My mom lost my dad, and instead of processing that fear, she channeled it into micromanaging me. She convinced herself that if she could just monitor me closely enough, she could prevent another loss. But you can't love someone into staying safe. You can only love them into feeling trapped. The real lesson? Setting boundaries isn't cruelty, even when it hurts the other person, even when they cry, even when they call the police. Because a boundary that protects your sanity is more loving than a relationship built on surveillance. So now I want to ask you, if someone you love was breaking into your home, invading your privacy, tracking your every move, all in the name of caring, what would you do? Would you keep accepting it to avoid the confrontation? Would you ask nicely one more time, hoping this time they'd finally listen? Or would you do what Mia did, disappear without warning, and force them to feel what it's like to lose control? Maybe you'd handle it differently. Change the locks, have a calm conversation with clear consequences, set boundaries without the dramatic exit. I really want to know. Because here's the deeper question. When does protecting yourself from someone's fear-based love become the only option? Is staging a disappearance to teach them a lesson going too far? Or is it the wake-up call they need when words have failed for years? And here's the hardest part. If they finally agree to change, after you've forced their hand through shock and consequences, can that relationship ever be healthy? Or will they always resent you for making them face their own issues? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, because this isn't just about parents and apartments. It's about knowing when someone's version of love has become your cage and deciding whether to ask for the key or just walk away and build a new door they can't open. Let's discuss.